Proper test. I think in order to maintain the drinking water, we have to have professional people working at the water department, which we do. The other thing is going to be the infrastructure. A lot of our water lines are getting old. I know when you drive down the street and see them patching the roads and see things like that. So I think at some point in time, we're going to have to become proactive in trying to figure out how we can redo these water lines and get that taken care of so we don't have to worry about breaking boil alerts and things like that.
What happened with the water and the notice that you received? The notice was required by the Ohio EPA. We had to send that out by law. There was nothing wrong with the water that came out of your faucet. It takes 12 hours for the water from the time it comes in to our water plant to the time that it goes out into the distribution system. The error was caught before it reached the distribution system. That water was dumped. You never saw any of that in the distribution lines. Unfortunately, there was an employee error, and that has been taken care of.
What is so wonderful about our water department is its supervision. We have a wonderful supervisor in Ron Marsnick, and he caught the error. So I see that there's no reason for me to say any more. I know you can be assured that in the years to come that we will have no problem with our water.
Our water is treated through guidelines set up by the EPA, and we have to test every day. We have to do chemicals, there's a whole list of chemicals that have to be put in at certain times. The water it's like 12 hours before it gets into the system. So they did catch that error, and none of the water was contaminated that went out into the system. But the EPA requires we send that notice to all our constituents. And that is part of the communications, which some people don't think we have. But this letter had to go out, and it did. But basically, Huron's water has always been great.
Yes, I would agree that Huron's water has been fine. I don't know how you're going to make it better, but all these problems with Mr. Marsnick that we've had recently have been taken care of. In fact, we got notices on our door that there were no contaminants in the water supply at all, even though you're still asked to boil your water. And I would just like to invite anybody who would like to ever take a tour of that water plant. I mean, it'll open your eyes. You don't know what a drop of water must go through to come out your faucet at home. With Homeland Security and all the fences around there, it really has become a huge job. And defense of it, you just imagine what would happen if we lost our water supply, at least our safe water supply. So I think we're doing a great job, and the water is in very good shape right now.
Well, the way to keep you in safe drinking water is through policies and procedures, and I think you'll be happy to hear that those procedures worked. We had a problem, it was identified, and the manager addressed it swiftly, and someone is no longer with us. But that's the best way to keep you safe, is to put policies in place, make sure they're followed. There's outside contractors sometimes that cause problems, and the other thing to do is communicate that with you a lot better than we have. And we've talked about improving our communications with you. Thank you.
There's probably none of us up here on this panel that really know anything about distilling water. However, I agree with Mr. Hartung that we have to have professionals doing that, and we do in Mr. Marsnick. And that's what we have to rely on, not only us, but everybody in the city. They've got a good crew down there, and that's what we have to rely on to make things happen.
the government provides public goods, and those goods include infrastructure, and then managing that infrastructure, whether it's the water supply, roads, streets. I'll have to disagree with Mr. Bickley on any of us at the panel here. As an engineer, these are things that are pretty close to home as far as what I'm responsible for and have been for the last over 25 years. The point being, those goods and services that the government needs to provide have to be managed, and the infrastructure has to be have a management program that is keeping that infrastructure up to date. There also needs to be coordination with the right agencies at the right time, things that I'm involved with right now, working with Ohio EPA and other agencies alike. Thank you.
This is for Mr. Hartung. 3 to 4 years ago, the City Council passed an ordinance that exacted a reservation fee for the use of the ball fields at Bavens Park, along with a per-child participation fee. The Huron Baseball Softball Program, which is a nonprofit organization serving approximately 500 Huron children, now have to pay approximately $3,500 annually to use to run their program. Do you feel this ordinance is appropriate, considering Bavens Park is a public park and that taxpayers are already paying the dollars to maintain it?
I guess when you get right down to it, yes, I think we need to charge a nonprofit to use the ball fields. We're bringing in kids from all over the area to use these fields, and as taxpayers, we're paying our Parks and Rec department to go out and mow the grass, line the field, and things like that. So we should be able to recoup some of our money. Is the fees out of line? I don't know. I've never done a study to see typically what they charge. I don't know how it's broken up. I'd have to look at that farther, but I do believe they should be charged something to cover the cost for the city.
The reason the baseball league is charged a fee is that this is a public park. If you pay for it. If you want to use it, you should be free to go down there anytime and use it. However, the league asks for exclusive use of a certain number of diamonds for a specific period of time, which means that you cannot use it. They are asking for a special arrangement. It would be like renting the gazebo for a family picnic. So they rent those fields in a sense, and they have the exclusive use of them for that time. You as a taxpayer cannot use them. This is compensation.
I don't know of any ball team who does not pay to play. Our Parks and Recreation Department is already self-sufficient. They get very little revenue from the general fund, and they're doing a great job.
I think it's paid to play, but in the case of an exclusive right to use the ball diamonds, there is a contract that governs that between the city and whoever is like the baseball program. They all agree to the terms prior to the season. The contract comes through the city manager. It is given to council for approval by either motion or legislation, and I don't see anything wrong with charging exclusive rights to use